Right. Sorry about all the confusion. I'm just sort of figuring out how all this works. First time I'm trying it out. Uh, 1 minute. Just setting things up a bit more. I have to delete some things here. YouTube Studio. Delete forever. Okay, that's good. That's good. Get shareable link. Just get this ready. Just kind of waiting for people to show up, if anyone shows up. I should have followed my own rules. There we go. Right. Okay, that's good. All right. Just gonna wait a couple more minutes before I actually get started on this. Just trying to adjust the lighting here. Okay, actually might need a bit more light because I want to show off the robot a little bit. Right. Okay, we're kind of going to be doing like a bit of a. Actually, I'll explain what we're doing in 2 minutes. Let's pretend to keep to a schedule of sorts. Got myself a water right here. How did that get? All right, it's 7 o'clock. Let us get this party started for, well, probably no one, but might as well do this anyway because maybe people will watch this later. Okay, so, right. That's still good. Okay. Right, so we're gonna just go over this fight right here. Just go through all of the fights I had at the event. Sort of just talk just sort of talk about what I was thinking, what I was doing, my strategy, and all that. Gonna have to quiet this down a little bit for me. Yep, jeez. Right, so this is the first fight I had of the event, which was against Flippin' the Bird. I'll be honest. I think I was. I'm trying to think. I think my main strategy for this fight was to try not to get pinned and just sort of try to keep the weapon pointed at him and just try and keep hitting him as best I could.
Gentlemen, in the squares, your right, my left. This robot's going to keep your team nice and shiny and white. Knocks them out. It's Flory.
Well, intro. So I'm gonna kind of skip through this a little. I do turn around for some reason. I put the robot facing the wall. I honestly don't know why I did that. I think it was just kind of how I just put it in the arena when I turned it on. So I just turned myself around just to be a bit more fair. I don't know. Right. So, fight starts, and I kind of just sort of sat in the square for some reason. Not sure why. And I think at this point the robot stops moving for some reason. Yeah, it kind of stops, even though I'm kind of trying to make it do stuff, and I was like, "Oh no, something bad happened." But then it just started working again, and I never had another issue with the robot just randomly dying. So I don't know. I think maybe it was just loose wires or something. Or I don't know. So he gets quite a good number of ramps. Then I turn back on, get the weapon back going. Here I get stuck in the wall because the weapon on Florine is actually. Let me see if I can. Let me give you a bit of a visual aid. Here, actually, hold on. Let me show you for a second. This is the weapon I use. This is an unpainted version, as you can see. It's very sharp. I have kind of a bit of an aggressive rake angle, which is what this angle right here is. And as such, when the weapon is like fresh and never been used before, it's very sharp and it tends to get stuck in things. Sometimes, like the arena wall, for example, in this scenario. That happened for a couple of my fights actually, but this is like the first occurrence, and I was like, oh, and then I had to kind of wiggle myself to get myself free. Thankfully, Flippin' the Bird was actually pretty nice. Didn't really attack me much as I was trying to get unstuck. Just put me there. I'm just trying to get back up to speed and start dodging him. Like, my goal is to try and get around to his side, actually, at this point. I realized that could be a good way to win. Stop there. He gets behind me, so I actually keep, like, shutting the weapon off, like, putting the throttle back down to the lowest position so I don't, like, damage the weapon when I run into a wall. Which is why you might see the weapon stop quite easily when it hits the wall, because I didn't want to because I've seen it a lot of times in fights from various weight classes of various different types of robots with spinning weapons. They'll keep the weapon running, like full bore, all the power, and then as they're getting pushed into like a wall, they'll hit the wall, and then the weapon won't work because they've broken like a motor or something. So yeah, weapon fight continues. At that point, I get flipped upside down because I think I just got a bad angle on him. And I'm trying to like reconfigure myself, and he's on me pretty quickly, so I can't like spin up immediately. Then I decide to spin up again. Then his arm gets like stuck between. Let me see if I can actually show this. His arm kind of got stuck in like this area of the robot, like stuck straight up through here, and then he started just trying to like grab onto my like motor wires, which are, as you can see, like right here. So I just didn't turn the weapon on because I kind of knew he would try. That would probably like break it somehow. So I just basically at this point was just waiting for him to let me go, and realized that we actually couldn't get unstuck from each other. So a bit more driving. Tries to bump me off.
He's grabbing the weapon.
I can't get off.
I noticed I can't get off. So we actually have to stop the fight. I get pulled off. And, I get pulled off down here. Fight continues. And I think the first thing I did was... There we go. I spin up the weapon. I try to spin up the weapon first, and then start moving to try and, I guess, hit him. At this point, the weapon sits quite a bit higher when the robot is upside down, as you can kind of see. Like it's near the wheels, like near like the bottom of the robot here, but when it's right side up, it's kind of low to where the ground would be. However, it turns out the weapon is also like slightly angled when it's at upside down because of how the wheels are positioned and where the frame is. And because of that, it was actually at like just the right height that I started like clipping his lid.
Oh, that weapon's spinning up now on Florian.
As you can see, his lid is starting to like become peeled up a little.
Flippin the bird is going after
And at this point, I'm not sure. I think my plan was just hit him, keep hitting him, see what happens. And right here, if you notice, I think I walked past it. You know, I get like a nice turnaround. I start actually, at this point, I finally start like hitting his internals. I rip out some random wire and the battery, which comes like flying out this way. And I start screaming battery, battery, battery because I realize, oh, that means he has to tap out because there's like a rule against having exposed lipos. If they fall out, you have to tap out immediately. And so when I see that happen, I immediately stop trying to attack him. I start driving back to the wall so I can get turned off because I know I've won at this point.
Nice.
And I proceed.
I can even call exposed battery.
Woo!
Yeah, that's pretty much the fight. Not much really else to say. I disemboweled him. Did not expect that result, actually. I was kind of thinking I'd get pushed around for another like minute or so and lose a judge's decision. Because up to that point, I wasn't really doing that well in the fight. But then, you know, I suddenly started doing well and I disemboweled him, which was pretty interesting. Right, fight. So I didn't really actually I didn't have really any damage that I had to fix. I just had to charge the battery up, and I also had to repaint the blade, because the blade was like it was hitting stuff, and the paint was getting rubbed off. So that's really all I had to do was just charge the battery and repaint the blade. Right. My next fight, as you can see, was against Lunchpad, and he was a really, really well-engineered robot that was like a spring-powered flipper, which is pretty impressive, especially the ant weights. And my strategy for this one was more or less the same as the previous fight, which is get around to his side and try and hit him. Let me just skip to the actual start of the fight. That's a lot of the fight is actually not much fight. So,
That's cool.
so, you know, fight starts. I spin up immediately and, you know, drive over there and get a nice good hit. Not much damage. And I'm just kind of trying to avoid his front. I'm trying to like get around to the side, try and just hit anywhere maybe except the front, but try to take shots where I can. There's a good shot right there that clips his butt. I get stuck in the wall again because that's kind of a running theme of this event.
Is there a battery?
I guess I go wiggle and I get out. Spin flip again, you know. Try and get out to the side. Miss.
Keyword there is yet.
Go there and go.
This is being awesome. There's a good hit right there that dislodges like an armor panel
Okay.
and exposes his butt.
Battery might be.
And the battery is out. So I drive into the wall and get stuck again, but I've won because, again, if exposed batteries, you lose. So, yeah, that was that fight. Really quick fight. I wasn't really expecting that. So I'm 2-0 at this point. I'm feeling okay. At this point, I'm actually pretty happy because even if I lose my next two fights, I go home with at least like an even record, which is in my head is a pretty good finish. So again, not much damage. I think I just had to like tighten some screws and also again repaint the blade because paint's getting wiped off again. So let me go to the next fight. Give me a second. No one's here. Next fight is against a robot called Bot 1, which is an undercutter. And I was feeling a little nervous for this fight because I'm facing like an actually damaging weapon, which kind of sucks because, you know, damage. Actually, hold on a minute. I need to get something ready for down the line. You know, I really should like plan ahead for these things. Right. Okay, I had to get a thing for in the next fight actually, but okay, so this one. Bought one again, undercutter, damaging, kind of worried. I think my main concern for this fight, because the only thing undercutters I'm actually kind of okay with when I fight them. Because the only parts of the robot that are really close to the ground are, well, the wheels and the acorn nut that the weapon rides on. Aside from that, there's not really much on the actual bottom of the robot that can get hit by an undercutter. Unless I get flipped over, but even then, the only thing that really can get hit is like the motor for the weapon. And again, the wheels, which I can easily replace the wheels. And the wheels are designed to, well, not really designed, they can take a couple hits before they kind of fail. And so my plan in this fight was kind of just to try and ram into him and see what happens. 1 second. Right. Okay, so where's the fight start?
Awesome.
Yeah, spin up. Okay, when's the fight? Yeah, there we go. So my initial plan was, so first thing I do is spin up again, do the classic drive out to the left, because that's the way the robot just wants to drive when we first spin up, because how the torque is, I think. You know, I kind of tried to, I think I was just trying to aim for his weapon, because I wanted to try and disable it, because at that point, it's then just a bit of me beating someone up for like a minute and a half. Which the robot is now kind of capable of lasting that long, because I got a new battery in. So let's see if I can slow this down a little bit. Right. I think I hit like his weapon here, which sends him away and sends me into the wall, where my weapon hits the wall before I can really react. And weapon kind of stops, so I reposition. He gets flipped upside down in that hit, actually. And so I get a couple glancing blows here, which I think knocks something loose. And I'm kind of being a bit cautious, as you can notice. I'm kind of like trying to go in and out, because he's now upside down. And because he's upside down, he can actually hit more areas of the robot, like the actual top plate, or the metal of the weapon frame, or the wheels in a bit worse of a angle, I guess. So I'm kind of trying to be actually a bit cautious when I hit, because I'm trying not to let him get around to the sides and start damaging the top plate. So I'm just trying to pick and choose and position. And so I kind of run away, get better position, go in when we can, careful, keep my front pointed towards him. Then his weapon just falls out, which was oh yay, because, well, I mean, that's very good for me, because that means no more reason to be afraid. So I just when I see that, I go I just kind of dive in. So I gotta get further around.
Okay.
Then I come in for a hit, and I manage to take off his weapon motor and weapon assembly. And then I think that itself, that at that point actually then separated into the motor can and the motor winding part. That part got ripped off, and I got sent flying. He got sent flying a little bit.
Okay.
I'm still working. I was like, okay, everything still works. So I spin back up, and I go after him, because he's still moving.
All right.
At this point, the weapon throttle actually was below about 50%. So I think the weight of his robot being on my weapon kind of caused it to slowly stop. So
Maybe let him go.
I don't really want to push him, so I try to back away, and I go around to get some space to spin back up. I come back in again. Just kind of At this point, it was basically just me running into him, just kind of taking shots where I
Okay,
could.
don't want to break myself too much.
Like I said, I don't want to like accidentally, hit someone so hard I break myself, because that's the very embarrassing way to lose.
Weird.
It kind of starts to slow down there. Let's just back up.
Oh.
And he taps out. Stop the weapon, and I run into the wall, and I get shut off. Yeah, that was a pretty, really good ending. I did not expect his weapon to just come flying off, and then it just get hit off, and then get split into like 2 parts. Also, I took quite a number of chunks out of his wheels, which I was very proud of. And so ended day 1 of the event. Again, I don't think I really took much damage from this. I had to just sort of recharge the battery and fix the weapon. I mean, recolor in the weapon. So next is day 2, and this is against a robot called Mr. Breeze, who is a scalar kit. Now, I've actually faced a scalar kit before in Tyrone at the it was in I think at like the St. Lucie Fair or something, and I beat him pretty handedly. I sent him into the pit twice because he escaped once, and I sent him back in there. There was a difference though in that I was actually in that fight I was using a disc-shaped weapon, and in this fight I was using the freshly newly made bar weapon. This one, which the new bar, because the bar at that event was slightly shorter than the disc, what reach-wise. This bar had as much reach as the disc, if I remember correctly. Which here actually is the old disc. Hold on. Hold on a minute. Here's the disc I used against Tyrone in that fight, and here is the new bar, which I used at this event. I don't know where the old bar is, but it's basically the same thing. As you can see, they are the same. They have the same amount of reach. So my goal in this fight was try and outreach my opponent, which is kind of how you beat a scalar kid, is just kind of outreach him, I figured. And that was my goal here, was try and outreach him, try and maybe set him in the pit again, like I've done before. Yeah, I'll admit I was also very nervous for this fight because this robot hits a lot higher than Bot 1 does, which kind of made things more difficult in my eyes. So I was kind of hoping for the best, but I kind of wasn't expecting me to win this one. So, it starts off well. I spin up, get a good hit on him, and pretty much instantly, my right side of drive just dies. And the reason this happened was because the drive motors I was one of the leads on the repeat motor I was using, it actually physically broke. I don't have the motor with me. I gave it to the guy after this fight. But it the lead actually came off one of the wires. The wire came off, but I took a part of the lead with it for some reason. I don't know why. I think it was fatigue or something. I honestly don't know why. So that meant I lost the side of drive pretty much immediately into this fight, and I was like, oh, for crying out loud, man, why does this have to happen? So yeah, I get a good hit on him there though, which sends me catapulting into the pit, nearly into the pit, actually. There I go. Let's see how close I actually got. Ooh, I kind of sail right over. That was close. I get kind of stuck. I spin up the weapon to get myself unstuck. And just in time too, because while I've been messing around over here, he's driving towards me, and I send him flying across the arena again with my weapon.
Oh, nice.
But kind of spins it down, I spin it back up. And at this point I realized, the problem is one of my wheels is weird, so I kind of have to figure out how do I adapt to this. And I realized that my weapon, because it's pretty heavy and it's spinning, well, it generates a lot of torque, like pretty much all horizontal spinners. And I decided I could use this to my advantage. So I started to realize I could use the weapon itself to kind of like force the right side of the robot forward while I counter forward with like the left, because the left drive wheel is still working. And I'm, slowly I'm like kind of crab walking, and I'm kind of starting to get it. At this point, I kind of like stopped to try and. At this point, I'm like trying to like very gently move towards him to try and hit him with just the weapon, so my butt doesn't take much damage here. So, see, I got another hit there. I clip his back right there. I kind of, and when I went, so I can't really. So at this point, I can't really turn like left anymore. I mean, because actually, no, I can still kind of turn left, but like turning right seems to be a lot easier because of. I think no wait. I just know that turning was difficult. I just remember that. So yeah, at this point you can see I'm kind of starting to get the hang of the drive. Yeah, turning is kind of weird. Like one way, like when I like go forward and back, it's just I'm really doing a bad job of describing how it felt, but like you just kind of had to like feel how the robot drove and would like get it. I guess it's just like. The torque was just really weird, but eventually I kind of got it. Oh, and at that point, he manages to get a nice, good slice into my backside, which tore up. Actually, hold on. Stop sharing. I hope that's focusing right. It tore off a massive chunk of the backside, like right there, going from here to here, as you can see. On the inside as well. It actually like got inside the robot, but there's nothing really there in the robot for it to hit. And something else that did is it tore off a bit of the TPU. As you can kind of see, I hope. Like right there, it like tore off a strip, but it didn't like make the strip fall off. The strip like kind of got torn and it started getting caught in the other drive wheel. So I had to like occasionally while I was driving, I was actually like looking at the robot, seeing if like that little piece was getting stuck in the wheel. And if that happened, I'd have to like reverse the wheel to get it like unstuck, which made things just more difficult for me. Yeah, that was not fun. All right, hold on. Sorry, forgot to switch it back. Restreaming. Okay, we're good. Anyway, so
Nice.
I'm kind of trying to re-aim myself with the weird drive I'm having to deal with. So I like go forward, go back. I start trying to.
Ooh, nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to constantly try to drive towards him with the weapon. Which actually I think eventually one way the decision was I was being more aggressive. Like throughout the fight, I was just trying to keep going towards Mr. Breeze at pretty much all costs. Try and hit him with the weapon, just never die, and just keep attacking as often as I could. I get a good hit there, so I shut the weapon off because I don't want to like start spiraling out of control. Spin back up.
Mr. Breeze unable to capitalize with his downside. Oh, and there's another shot.
Yeah, I'm getting taking another shot. I managed to put this wheel there.
A foam tire going splattering around the arena.
At this point, I kind of messed up the turn there, so we kind of start facing each other. So again, at this point, I tried like reverse forward. He only gets my rear side again. Still trying to figure out how to actually do this. It's it again, because again, I'm still trying to because turning is just weird. I couldn't really turn like on a dime like the robot normally kind of can. I had to it was a bit more wider than I was used to, so I had to I kept exposing myself a lot more than I meant to because I was used to the robot behaving a certain way. At this point, it's starting to get better.
15 seconds left.
So fight's getting close down to the end here. I'm trying my best to keep driving towards him for the hit.
Okay.
5,
Land there. Trying to drive towards him, and then the fight ends. So I just kind of shut the weapon off, and we take it out of the arena, and eventually I was given the decision. It was apparently a really close decision. Yeah, it was a very close decision. I got it, I think, because of aggression. Yeah, I think that's why I got it. That's what I was told. Okay, next fight was against Tappy McTapperson, right, as you can see here, who eventually ended up getting second. I was not looking forward to this fight. I pretty much knew I was gonna probably lose because Tappy is a control bot, like a really, really good control bot that's like also very fast. So I didn't really have much of a I didn't really think I'd do too well. Oh yeah, also damage from the last fight. I had to swap over to a different chassis. Like, hold on, Okay, so this chassis was the one I was using. It was like a new specially made chassis, which I was really proud of actually how it came out because it was like a lot lighter than the old one. It was like a lot more clean on the inside. I actually remember to dry out the TPU filament I used before I actually printed the chassis, and it was like it came out really clean, and I was really, really proud of it. And it sucks. It only lasted like 4 fights before I had to then throw it away because that was just a lot of damage at the back that I didn't really want to. It was just too much of a risk and probably would have been a liability. So I had to swap over to a different chassis, which was this one, the robot is currently using, which I used at my last event in St. Lucie. This is the chassis I ran, and it worked really well. I took pretty much no damage throughout the entire event. So I just switched back to that. The problem with this chassis is that it's a little bit heavier than this one. And so that meant I couldn't use the disc weapon I had made because in this configuration with this weapon and this new fancy carbon fiber top plate, the robot is like at 453 grams. I can't use the heavier weapon when the old design, the new chassis would have allowed me to use the new weapon because this chassis is a lot lighter. So I had to switch to this chassis. Right, let's go back to the fight. Tappy. Yeah, again, I honestly knew I had pretty much no chance of winning here. Like I think I thought that there was a chance, but I kind of knew that it really was not likely that I'd actually win because again, Tappy's a good control bot driven by a really good driver. So yeah, I tried like the first thing I did, I spin up. The problem is I didn't move. Like I just kind of sat there instead of like doing the classic move off to the left thing, which allowed Tappy to come right in and just ram me into the wall.
Looks like he's trying to get him in the pit.
Yeah, and I also actually for this fight I had to replace one of the drive motors because the other one was broken from the last fight, and I switched over to a new one I had bought. I swapped over all the chassis components, and I also switched to some new wheels, because the older ones were pretty much very destroyed. Let me see if I can find. I think this is the one I used in the Mr. Breeze fight. I gave the other one to him. Here's the wheel I kept. You can see it's not really that damaged, but like you'll notice that the center is like kind of cut out, and it really wasn't like staying attached to like the hub. It was kind of rotating independently of the actual hub itself, despite the fact the hub has like a plus sign in the middle that's meant to stop that from happening. So I figured I'd just replace the wheels, and also like fix the latex that was on them. So this is like fresh, shiny latex. And it's not really helping right now because I'm stuck on him.
Tappy's really trying in that pit.
So at this point, I stopped moving because I know any movement might unbalance me and send me into the pit. So I just don't move. I just like kind of like.
And it looks like Florian's. Oh no, he's getting out.
And I start trying to like get myself back in with the weapon because the weapon actually has quite a bit of torque. I've heard people tell me it doesn't have that much torque, but it has enough that, as you can see right there,
Oh, no, he's getting out.
I spin the weapon and I actually can rotate the robot a little bit. And I start trying to get out, and Tappy goes right
Trying to get out. He's
slams
in the
me
way.
into him.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he's in the way.
He's in full control.
So I get away, and I immediately try spinning up the weapon and
Alright, alright.
attacking.
Just spin up that weapon.
And, you know, I ran into the wall, and weapon gets shut off
So
again.
close he got hit.
I'm getting ran into the pit again, so I just stop moving. Back up,
We're
try and
trying to
spin
get
up,
moving room, but Tappy's not
run to the
letting
wall.
him.
I know.
There.
And so I try to let him stop.
Florian's got that weapon spin up, and Tappy is still going at him.
Okay, at this point, I'm finally spinning up to speed. I'm trying to, like, do the spin move I normally do to try and disorientate him, which doesn't work at all. So I get around to the wall. I kind of just wait, because I know he has like 10 seconds to pin me. He tries to pin me again,
That's a pin. 10, 9,
so I just kind of wait again, because I couldn't get away.
It's okay there.
3, 2, 1, release.
Rinse to repeat, mostly. Oh, tries to pin me again. At this point, I finally managed to get away, spin up as best I could, and immediately caught again. I get round to the wall.
And that's a pin. 10, 9, 8, 7.
Yeah, I was kind of just standing here and waiting, because I knew there was really no point in me trying to move, because I can't move. But finally, I tear off a piece of his armor.
Alright, nice, nice.
But it's kind of like, the fight's almost like, let's see, it's been around 15, so it's been about a minute and a half. And that's the first bit of damage I've actually done, which is nowhere really near enough to win. Get pinned again. You can't see it because I'm in the way.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I try and turn away again. I spin up.
Cook, bro, cook.
I try and like spin up and try and ram him, but I'm not really spinning up aggressively enough, so I get flipped over there because of Florian being Florian. I get pushed to the wall again. I decided to say, I was like, kind of like, oh, forget it. And just I spin up the weapon up to full speed, which I never really do because I'm pinned up against the wall and I can actually spin up the weapon because it's kind of, I noticed that the weapon was relatively clear. It wasn't hitting the wall. It had enough area to actually spin. So I was like, all right, screw it. Let's spin up. That surprisingly worked somewhat well. And then, you know, right as I start spinning up and trying to launch an attack, the fight ends, and I lost a judge decision pretty handedly. But thankfully, I kind of knew going into that fight that even if I lost, I wouldn't have any damage to actually fix because I'm facing just a wedge that pushes me around. And as long as I didn't do anything dumb like run into a wall myself with the weapon fitting at full speed, I wouldn't have to fix anything. So all I did was recharge the battery and repaint the blade. Yeah, I didn't really take much damage at this event aside from that Mr. Breeze fight. Speaking of which, because I had actually been doing quite well, I was 4-0 up at that point, so I dropped the 4-1. I went down to the losers area. Losers bracket, sorry. And because I had progressed so far, I was actually already in the losers finals against, well, you know, Mr. Breeze, who had also managed to get to the losers finals pretty well. So I'm facing him again, and I was like, oh, for crying out loud, man. I don't think he was all that jazzed about it either, the guy who built Mr. Breeze. Because, you know, he took a lot of damage actually from that fight, and so had I. So I wasn't really looking forward to this. So, you know, I think at this point, I want to say, like, actually, let me look. I want to see if this is the part where I switch to a different hold on. I think so. I'm trying to. It's really not a good part where Florian is. Okay. I'm just kind of looking at this, trying to figure something out.
Florian's just over the edge, and it looks like Florian.
No, okay, yeah. So this was still using the old frame. When I got to fight number 6, I decided because I had a lot of extra time on my hands, I was going to switch over to using a spare weapon bracket because I noticed that this one was ever so slightly bent. You probably can't even see that actually. Hold on. If you'll notice that this is like ever so slightly bent, and I decided to, because I might as well go big or go home, I decided to replace it with a new weapon frame because I wanted to make sure that the robot was in tip-top shape before I went into this fight, because I wanted to at least, I don't know. I was at this point I was like really happy with how the robot was performing, and if I went home with like a 4-2 record, I would have been happy because that's pretty good in my eyes. So, yeah. So the robot, this looks a little bit brighter because this frame I'm using versus this frame doesn't have the black outline. The reason this has a black outline is because I saw like a robot on NHRL or something, or someone showed me a robot that was in NHRL that had like a black outline because they're trying to go for like a cartoony aesthetic. I tried to copy that, and I mean it's nice looking, I guess, but I'm gonna be honest, I kind of like this a lot more. Like it's a lot brighter in my opinion, and I kind of like that. So, fights. This is actually a pretty short fight. Before this fight, Mr. Breeze, I know, went through like quite a big rebuild because he was pretty damaged from his fight with Tyrone, who we had before this. This fight starts. I spin him immediately. I move off to the side. I try to hit him, and I do like a spin move because I'm great at driving this thing. So I kind of like I'm trying to circle him and trying to attack like his sides or his back. I get a good shot on him. He tries to point towards me. I think he loses drive there. I hit him again, and he dies. Like right there, he is dead. I think what he said happened later on, like in the comments, like a wire inside of a shrink, like of a wire inside of the heat shrink broke, like between like a battery connector and a battery or something, and that's what caused the robot to just shut down.
Okay, okay.
So I kind of start spinning down because I'm like, wait, is he out? So I ask if he's tapping out. He's like, yeah. So I run back into the wall.
All right.
Yeah, that was really quick. And then there was a bit of confusion because I think the organizers weren't sure if he had actually tapped out when he had. He just generally had it announced or something. And also, I was now a bit completely stuck in the wall because of, the weapon. I think I also, at this point, I think I switched to a different. I took the weapon off and I flipped it around because the way the bars are built is they're symmetrical. So if one side gets dull throughout an event, I can just take it off and flip it around, and it'll still have a nice sharp hitting edge. And I think that's what I did here, because again, I was like, I want to make sure the robot is in tip-top shape before it fights again. So I get stuck in the wall, and then the rest of the video is kind of like us discussing that, and then me taking the robot out. So at this point, I kind of before this fight started, I was already happy because actually at this point I would have gotten a podium finish. If I'd lost, I would have gotten third place. I was like, that's great. I'm happy with that because, hey, I get an actual trophy for this. And so when winning this, I realized that I am guaranteed a second place finish. If I lose my next fight, I get second, which I was thrilled with because that is the greatest Florian has performed in over a year, because the last time I got second was back at a SuperCon in Tampa or something in 2022, and that was back with the old version of Florian. That was just a lifting arm on with a giant wedge, which was really not a good robot. It was very slow, could barely turn, didn't really drive backwards well. It was not good, not good at all. So I was really happy that Florian was going to get second again, at least. So, at this point, before this last fight, the charger I had been using this entire day finally kind of stopped working. It wasn't even my charger. It was actually Caden's charger, who's also a member of the Gator BattleBots team. I had forgotten my charger at home because I actually was charging the batteries, setting them to storage, and I was taking them from storage level to actually properly charged level the night before the event, and I forgot to take my charger and put it back in my maintenance box equipment toolbox thing before we drove off to the event. So that was kind of embarrassing. But Kaden was nice enough to let me borrow his. But at this point, his charger like stopped working, so I had to, between this fight and the next fight, trying to find a way to charge my battery because I wanted to make sure I wasn't forgetting anything. So I was going to like triple check and make sure that I had charged my battery as much as I could, and didn't want to like do anything to chance or die of like a low battery or something in my next fight. So, at this point, I've won I've gotten minimum second place. So next fight, last fight, I'm facing McTapperson again. So I was like, oh, I'm probably going to lose again in the exact same fashion because I had literally fought this guy less than 2 hours before this, and we saw how that ended with with me getting pushed around and losing a judge decision. I thought that was going to happen here. Regardless, I prepared as best I thought I could. I charged the battery up. I made sure everything was working. And I did notice that like the weapon mode was feeling a little bit like stiff, I guess is the best way I could describe it. It felt kind of like sticky for some reason, like just a very tiny bit. But the weapon seemed to still work, so I was like, screw it, and just kind of I colored back in the blade, added the bits of touching of color to it. I kind of just did one vinyl once over, and I went into the robot, went to the arena for the grand final of the Antweight division. And I'll admit, I was very nervous before this fight, because again, I was thinking there was a chance I actually could get first. I didn't really think it would actually happen because Tappy's like the perfect counter to me. He's like a robot that's a control bot that can push me around and get to me quickly. And I was fully expecting to lose again. And so, Kane does the announcements where he
Most insane winning against it is Tappy McTapperson.
Yeah, and I'm clapping here because I noticed no one really and I decided, clap along for Tappy because, I thought it genuinely was impressive for a weaponless robot to get to the finals in a field full of pretty devastating spinners. Like a lot of there were like 5 scalar kits, I think, or 3. There are a lot of scalar kits, and I think a lot of the people there thought a scalar kit was going to win because of just how many there were. And yeah, he shrugged him off in like all of his fights. I think I remember seeing a video compilation of them, and they were pretty impressive. He got quite a number of pittings, which is very good. And then in the blue square is B with my silly little Antweight, which to this day I'd never actually properly fully catted before. like, when I designed Fluorine, I didn't actually ever check to make sure. Like, I never checked in the CAD if all the components I wanted to use actually fit in the robot, or even or if like the components would even be under the weight limit. I kind of just bought things and hoped it would work. I mean, it's worked so far, so so yeah. Final fight. I wasn't really thinking I'd actually, win. I was thinking, it's been a fun ride, but this is probably where the fun stops, and I'm gonna get like second, and it's gonna be good. So yeah.
And in the blue square,
It's also like because I'll do it at the end.
oh, you know what? I was about to say the school representative, and I realized we'd get booed. You know what? I don't care. School pride, representing the amazing University of Florida.
I'm mildly embarrassed by this because I don't know why. It's just kind of awkward to be. I think it's just kind of awkward to be representing my entire school BattleBot division, and it's just because I never really thought of myself ever as like being the representation of something, I guess. I can't really word it the way I want to word it, because like Caden had brought, Powerball. This Jace had brought his other robot, which I can't for the life of me remember the name of, like Casis, something like that. I was thinking one of them was going to get to the finals because Powerball is like really good. Like it looks like a work of art. Like has all these nice smooth curves, and it's all like properly catted and all that. And same with Lacasis. It's again a good looking robot, but instead of them being at the finals, it's me, which it just it was weird, man. I gotta be honest, it was just really weird for me to be in that position. But enough about me. Well, actually, you're watching a live stream on my channel, so is it about me? And it's not really. It's not about me. This is fun. Anyway, so that was the intro.
Yeah. That's cool,
All right,
Florida.
drivers, are you ready? Let's
It's a-
go.
So I do my Let's Go, which I've been doing for actually all the fights, but I keep forgetting to show you that because I kind of keep skipping the intro. But I tried to be a lot more energetic, I guess, than normal. I was like, screw it, I'm here, man. I'm here to have fun, so let's have some fun. So I was like, I kept doing the Let's Go thing in pretty much every fight because why not? I think I actually shook hands with Carter. That's the name of the driver. Yeah, Carter. I think I shook hands with him before this fight because I was like, let's just have a good one. Let's have some fun. Because again, the main part of this sport is you're supposed to have a lot of fun with it, and I was having a lot of fun with it because the robot was working. So fight starts.
3, 2, 1, fight robots. Fight.
Instead of letting him box just me, I decided to just start moving immediately as soon as I can. As soon as the weapon's up to a good speed, I okay, come on, let's move. I kind of start sliding, and I get back in, and I get a good shot on him, which doesn't really do much. I get a nice good hit on him here. I get a good hit on him here, which sends him away, which is what I want to happen when I hit someone. I kind of want to send someone away from me so I can get more space to spin up back up again and come back in. And I get a good hit here that I think rips off one of his forks, if I can see. Yeah, and also one of his side panel thingies, which I was actually very surprised at this point because I was fully expecting him to just have boxers have just pinned me at this point and ran me into a wall, but surprisingly, I was doing pretty well.
Oh, nice.
So I I was like, at that point I was trying to turn and hit his wheel, but he just got away from me before I could do that. I think it also at this point is another one of his forks also just kind of fell off at that point, I think. Oh no, that's just the hole in the arena. Sorry, I thought that this was a fork, but here, another one of the forks falls off. I just kind of get sent into the wall for some reason.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I kind of do a spin. I'm facing the wall. I have to turn myself around. I think at this point he starts getting high-sided on something. I think he's high-sided on one of his own armor pieces. Yep, he is. So he gets it off, and I'm coming in from behind. And I just kind of again, I just turned for some reason. I think I was trying to be smart and try to hit the wheel from an angle or whatever, but don't know why I did that. So he turns away from me. I turn away from him. So I then turn the other direction to try and get his wheel because I'm watching and driving, and I see, oh, I should try hitting his side here, which is not his front. Which I think my entire strategy of this fight was don't try and avoid his front. Try to avoid letting him get a good ram on you and pin or whatever. I'm trying to avoid that when I can, but at the same time trying to take shots where I can. So I get a good shot here that sends him flying. I think at this point he a part of his armor gets caught underneath him again. Get a good hit there. And at this point I'm just kind of trying to I'm trying to kind of hit and run style attacks. I'm trying to hit, kind of turn away, run away, come back in, get a good glancing blow, drive away, come back in, hit again. Just do that over and over basically. I I get a hit here.
Oh, and it's back.
I get a hit on this side panel. I think it gets sent in flying again.
Cooking.
Taking a chunk right out of
I don't get what cooking means. Actually, no, I kind of do, but whatever. At this point, again, just kind of start deciding to ram him because I realize his because he doesn't have one of his side panel things, I might be able to escape easier. And at this point, I kind of start to realize, holy moly, I could actually win this thing.
space.
I
Trying
just
to
kind of
avoid
stand
that pit.
and just start trying to ram him. That was a good shot right there, actually.
Cooking.
Taking a chunk right out of Tappy's face.
Oh, hit
Trying
there,
to avoid
then
that pit.
boom.
Tappy
I'm flying
goes,
again,
taking
which is
it
what I
right
want.
on the nose again. Of course, that nose is sticking a little high up on the
And I keep trying to like just do a lot of turning. As you can see there, I like was driving away. Then I tried doing that thing I get earlier again because I noticed that again I'm trying to hit the wheels at this point. I'm starting to now try and hit the wheels because I've kind of started to. I've broken off 2 of the forks, which is great, and again I'm starting to realize again I could actually win this thing, which is amazing. So I get a good shot there. Get another shot there.
Nice, nice, nice.
She's just cheering me on because of course she is. I get a nice shot of the wheel there.
there.
Then right there, right here, I finally managed to get a perfect shot right onto the wheel and just send it flying. And it comes clean off. It just goes boom. Probably one of the best shots I've ever delivered with this robot in my entire fighting history, I guess. That right there, that shot was pretty much perfect.
Cooking, cooking.
I hit him again,
Go, go,
and at this point, he's high-centered completely.
go.
And I come in, and I don't hit him because I realize he's not moving.
High center.
So I just kind of keep the weapon on, and I'm like kind of staring at him.
On the
So if he tries anything, I can hit him.
back screw. Florian contested landing. Tag releases team motion in 10.
And
9.
at this point, I realize he's like, "Yeah, you can hit me again," but I'm like, "Nah, I'm not gonna hit you again." That's kind of, I don't want to risk anything. Number one, and number two, I don't know. So anyway, I start driving away because at this point, I think I hadn't fully realized I'd actually won. I guess I kind of was still a bit in shock that, wait, holy moly, did I just win? I was kind of in that phase of like not quite realizing I had won after the fight was basically over. So I start driving away to head back to the like starting area. For some reason, I decided to take that really random circuitous route instead of going around his back. And as I shut the weapon off, the sudden lack of torque just turned me towards him, and I rammed right into him, which I genuinely did not mean to do. It didn't do anything because he still couldn't move. So I waited for the weapon to spin down before moving in again. Because again, I was kind of like waiting for him to start moving again. Because, well, never assume you've really won until the final bell or whatever. And I realized at this point that I've actually managed to win, and I'm about to get first place, which that has never happened before, and I never expected to happen before. So I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to do a victory spin because that's kind of what you do with these things. If you win like a fight, like a final fight, I think like I don't know if it's customary to do a victory spin, but I figured, screw it, I'm going to do a victory spin. I feel good because I felt like indescribably happy, I guess, kind of at this moment because of the I don't know, man. I'm just kind of, oh, finally someone joined. Hi, Esra. Oh, brother. Anyway, so yeah, I decided to drive to the center and do a victory spin. I kind of accidentally hit his wheel. That was also a bit of an oopsie. And at the end, I realized that I've won, so I'm going to do this victory spin. And in order to do so, I decided to also spin the weapon up to full power, which I've never done, which I don't really do often. And I figured this kind of occasion, it basically was. I figured might as well spin up to full speed and just have some fun and just do a little victory spin.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen,
Woo!
Running some thing again.
Yeah.
And first thing I do is shake his hand because, you gotta be polite. That's what you do at these events. Being polite is important. But I think I shook or high-fived Caden, and then I kind of very shakily took the robot off and started filming the vlog, which you can all see there with my. I don't know what is that. What is that? I feel like that's insinuating. Never mind. So yeah, your boy won. I somehow managed to get first place, and afterwards afterwards I checked and I'd pretty much taken. I'm gonna go. Let me back up a bit. First of all, I don't know how to describe how it felt when I realized I had actually managed to get first place, when I'd actually managed to win. I was to remind y'all that I had no hope, pretty much no hope going into this final fight. Like, I kind of was thinking, fantasizing myself, I was like, it'd be awesome if I managed to get first. That'd be awesome. But no, I didn't really think that would happen. I thought I'd just lose again. It'd be another 2 minutes of me getting shoved around. But no, I actually managed to somehow win, which it's man, I don't know how to describe it. I was like shaking so much for like the next 10 to like 20 minutes as I kind of just wandered the pits in kind of awe of what had happened. Like I have the actually trophy with me. As you can actually, I'm gonna stop sharing because I'm kind of done with that part of the stream. Like, I have this. This is something that I just have. It's surreal. I just don't know how to describe this because, like, it's weird, man. It's a good weird. I'll be honest. It is a good weird, but yeah, it's for Pete's sake. I keep doing that. It's a good weird, I guess. It's just a lot of feelings, It's been about over 3 years since I started this actually building robots, not really custom robots, but building robots, period. And I've been working on flooring in, various forms from basic Viper kit, lifter to custom spinner to this. It's been a process. And just it and just the fact that I now finally have achieved this is kind of incredible, I think. Anyway, post events, I discovered like a couple days after the event, actually. Yeah, they are a process. So post events, I discovered that pretty much every single like the drive motor screws, like each of them, like all 4 of them in total, all 4 were loose, and I think they were actually loose after my 6th fight, and I just never had checked them because I'm pretty sure I would have noticed. I think either after the 7th or 6th or 7th fight, a lot of the screws were loose. The drive motor screws were loose, and the wheels were kind of shaking in place a little. One of the screws that holds the weapon motor in place was just gone, which I somehow completely missed until I'd actually gotten home and looked at the robot, and I was like, "Oh, the screw's missing." I honestly don't know how I missed that. The weapon no longer spins really freely. If you'll notice, it's kind of sticking a little instead of like just spinning and then slowly coming to a stop and then just stopping, which is how the robot was like before the event. I could just spin the weapon and just kind of like spin for a while, which I found very fun. It's honestly kind of peaceful to spin the weapon, let it just kind of spin for a while. Not like when the robot's on, but like when it's off, as right here, just kind of like do this. Nothing stupid, like actually turn the robot on in a drive. Anyway, so yeah, it's a little stiffer, I guess, stuck. I don't know if that'll like affect anything. I haven't actually thrown the robot in the test box and seen how it works. I assume that the robot still works because as you saw in the fight, I the weapon was fine working the entire time. So I don't think it's like I think the weapon motor will still work. I do have a backup in my toolbox, so if I need to switch it out, I can. Aside from that, I really have almost nothing to really fix on the robot. Both drive motors still work. Wheels are still fine. Top plate's fine. Weapon frame fine. Weapon itself is a little bit chewed up. It's kind of hard to see, like really hard to see. I think. I'm trying to like adjust the brightness here. That's not helping at all. That's also not helping at all. It's like it's like a light here. Anyway, you can kind of hardly tell, but it's not as like sharp as it normally is, and it's also like a bunch of the paint is missing because I haven't actually added the paint back yet. Because I'm actually going to take this to a meeting tomorrow and show everyone how the robot looks. Then after that, I'm gonna retouch up the paint and like markers and make it look a bit better. Something else, I think the only other thing I really need to fix with this robot is I need to get the old chassis back. I need to print another one of these chassis that's a lot lighter. Because this one is the old chassis, which is a little heavier and thicker, which again, the chassis isn't really meant to provide much armor or protection. That's the job of the weapon itself, is to keep pointing towards the enemy, and if I do that, I should never really need much armor. So I'm going to probably try and print another one of these things. And also maybe in the future print more than just one per event. Because as clearly shown, that won't do. Because, yeah, I'm not sure why I only ever printed one. I think, actually, no, I know the reason why. These usually take a couple, like, I know they used to take like upwards of 12 hours to print because I was very conservative with how I would use my 3D printer. This one I think takes around 9 hours or so to print on a 3D printer, which isn't really that terrible. So in the future, I'm probably going to try printing more of these at once. So that way, at events, I don't have to like pray that I managed to bring a backup chassis, which I actually wasn't even thinking of bringing a backup chassis this event. And I kind of decided on a whim just to bring one because it's like, why not? Yeah. This is kind of just me rambling at this point. So, aside from that, there really is nothing I really need to do with this robot. I could probably just take this robot as is and just toss it into my next event with no changes because I really can't think of anything that needs to be fixed. The only thing I can maybe think of adding is like a bit of like an armor piece for like the front to protect the motor, but I'm not really sure how I'd implement that sort of thing. What else is there? Again, also like I could probably maybe try adjusting the chassis more and maybe making it because there is a little bit of empty space in here that I have because I worry not having enough room to put everything inside it. But I don't know. There's really nothing for once, there's really nothing I can think of that I need to really change for the robot, which is kind of a rare thing for me to say. Normally after the event I have things I need to fix. I honestly think the only thing I really need to fix at this point is just drive the robot better, I think, because the reason I lost that 5th fight was mostly down to driving. I just wasn't driving the robot properly, and that's kind of why I lost. I think I focused too much on trying to like spin him driving in a constructive fashion to like get around him. But yeah, it's future plans as well. I'm not really sure if I'm going to go to like the August event that's going to happen. I know that that's a thing in Florida, in like Point St. Lucie, I think. I'm not really sure if I'm going to go to that. Like I might, but I'd have to like see how my schedule works out. But yeah, I'm just yeah. Stretchless Robotics said they are in fact a process, and this little guy has been a process for like 3 years at this point. This particular version only around a year and a half, I think, but still, put a lot of work in this. I'm just, it's it's good to see the robot finally kind of working as I want it to work. Like the way you saw Florian fighting in those fights was pretty much how I've wanted the robot to work always. I've always wanted the robot to work pretty much that well. And now that it is, I don't really know what to change about it. And I guess that's a good place to be when it comes to designing robots. When you're at a place that you're happy, I guess at that point, you just kind of start improving the things. I don't know. I'm just really not sure where to take this. Like, add to it. Good old Florian here. Now that I've reached a first place finish, I guess I'm just gonna keep fighting and trying to have more fun with it because this is a really fun robot to fight with. It's very destructive, very fun to drive. So yeah, not really much more I really can think to talk about. I did the reaction part already. I did the recap. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna end the stream out now. This was fun. I mean, my voice is a bit tired from just talking over an hour, which is not normally something I do. But yeah, I had some kind of fun with this. I do wish more people, typed, but whatever. This is the first of hopefully many of these sort of event recap stylings. And yeah, I'm probably gonna sign off for now. And well, you'll either see more of me with, when I upload more videos and be testing the robot or just random stuff. It might be anything. I don't know. I'll be sure to keep y'all updated on my various social medias. And that's not a bad idea, Astra. Not a bad idea at all. I'm having fun with the YouTube live because more people show up, and I want to actually be able to post these onto YouTube when I'm done with them, rather than being on Discord, because you can't really upload Discord streams, or maybe you can, but I don't really know how. And this has already been a bit of a nightmare to set up. Yeah, brother. So yeah, until next time, I'm gonna leave y'all to it. Hopefully people will watch this later, so you can see my thoughts on things. Maybe it'll be cool. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. Have a wonderful evening, all of you, and stay awesome, my Halogen homies.